Hello, my Fire Legions, your Fire King Renegade here, coming at you with a brand new What If. This is What If Deku had the Force. Now, I'm going to explain a few things here, mostly about Deku. This takes place many, many, many years after The Last Jedi. Not Last Jedi, Return of the Jedi. That one is on my bad. But I'm going to say this. The sequel trilogy, that doesn't exist in this universe, okay? It doesn't exist. It's gone. It's removed. Kylo Ren doesn't exist. Rey Palpatine doesn't exist. None of them exist. It's basically, it's pretty much just Empire trying to regain power. Mandalorian exists. It exists. That's happened. Baby Yoda was a thing, you know. He is long dead because he has also died of natural causes because, like I said before, many years, this is when Earth is a thing. And as the beginning of every Star Wars movie says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, so Force-sensitive people aren't really a thing in the galaxy anymore. They kind of just disappeared, shall we say. Now, I will say this. Earth is a thing still, and it has been expanded. I'm going to call it the New Republic. So after the fall of Emperor Palpatine, the New Republic was built, and they decided to go off and discover new lands. Earth kind of got forgotten for a good 40 million years or so. So it kind of lost a lot of its technology because not a lot of people wanted to stay there because it was small. It was mostly water. It was a small planet, stuff like that. So Earth pretty much, for the most part, stayed its own separate thing, and humans became their own species. But they are direct descendants of the Mandalorians. Why? Because why not? Since the Mandalorians are one of the greatest, gave birth to one of the greatest fighting race out there, I consider the Mandalorians to be, I call them Space Americans, pretty much. Pretty obvious why. Now, I'm American, so I can say this, and you guys literally cannot call me a racist because I'm making fun of my own people. And if someone tries that bullshit, you can't. Anyways, so most humans, pretty much everything happens in the normal timeline. So skip to about a few decades after Quarks appeared. The New Republic rediscovers Earth and gives it technology, new, better technology, making it more advanced, allowing for space travel to different planets and stuff like that. So it's a part of the New Republic now, albeit more of like Tatooine. It's got its own laws and stuff, but it more of a free planet than it is. It doesn't listen to the New Republic rules. It listens to its own rules. So, each nation has its own rules and stuff like that. And heroes are a thing in each planet and stuff, and all that. So the hero rankings are still a thing. But heroes do go off planet now and again to help fight, solve galactic matters. So All Might isn't the number one hero on Earth. He's the number one hero across the universe, making All Might that much more of a person. So Earth is home to one of the greatest hero teaching schools out there, UA. So people from across the galaxy would come to UA to study. So, you know how we have a lot of weird looking characters? Well, they're about to become weirder. So, like, people would come to UA to become a hero to become a hero for their own planet. It's really confusing. We're not going to focus on any other planets. We may take like a trip to a few different planets here and there, but other than that, we're mostly just going to stay on Earth. Just know there are fucking just aliens on Earth, pretty much. You know, bounty hunters will come in. We got flying ship, laser guns, all that. But Earth was discovered by the Old Republic, and it was one of the biggest battle sites in the Clone Wars. And it stayed a battle site through the entire Clone War, meaning there were a lot of dead clones there that had been lost to time, and a lot of dead separatists. But that means, and I'm going to say there was a Jedi there. This Jedi wasn't well known. He did a lot of dual wielding with his lightsabers. His lightsaber colors, they were red. But they weren't corrupted kyber crystals. They were found red, pretty much. Actually, no. I've always wanted to if I could ever, like, mod a Star Wars game, I would probably make this lightsaber. So I'm going to add it here. Like, this is a extremely rare kyber crystal. Basically, it's my own, and I'm making it up. Because I think this kyber crystal would look badass as shit. So, the lightsabers were black, but with a blood red glow. And this Jedi was one of the most powerful Jedis out there. He could rival Obi-Wan and Anakin. So when Order 66 happened, this Jedi destroyed both the Separatists and clones. But when he did that, he destroyed his only way off the planet as well. Meaning he was left and forgotten there for, well, his lifespan. Leaving behind his lightsabers, which obviously still work. Jump to present times with a young Izuku Midoriya who just found out he was quirkless. Now, Deku is being bullied by many, many people, aliens and humans alike, in the kindergarten. Because, you know, aliens would obviously immigrate to, you know, Earth and stuff, and, you know, live there. Now, remember what I said about Force-sensitive people being pretty much non-existent. Everyone in the New Republic has kind of forgotten about the Force. It pretty much is a forgotten trade. Pretty much a myth or legend at this point. Palpatine pretty much erased the Jedi from history, along with the Sith. Meaning, the Force is gone pretty much. And Force sensitive people aren't connected with the Force because some bullshit. I don't know. I'll come up with it later. I'm too lazy right now. So, time skip about I would say to the beginning of the last year of middle school. Now, Deku, his life hasn't been all that bad. It's not like he got bullied by everyone. He actually did manage to also get a girlfriend. Her name is, you know, hold on, I gotta come up with the last name. I'll be back. Alright, so her last name is Jiro. She is the twin sister to Kyoko. If you guys don't know, Jiro's first name is Kyoko. Now, the thing is, I'm changing Jiro's family's history a bit. Jiro's musical father is her stepfather. I have to explain this part because I need to explain why Deku doesn't know Jiro when he gets to UA. And why doesn't know who, Jiro is either. So, Jiro's birth father and got in a divorce with her mother. And decided that goes with her father, Kyoko would go with the mother. Kyoko's mother, after a few years, remarried. Changing her name to, obviously, Jiro. And her mother would follow suit. Kyoko's father, well, he sadly had passed after a few years. It was because of a car accident. Before any of you go down the path like, oh wow, this is getting really depressing. It's a car accident. It's nothing major like that. Alright? Just a nicey road, followed by a quick turn, and a blizzard. Normal shit that would happen in the Leah Ward. Ward. I can't say Ward. Whatever. So, was put in an orphanage. It is unknown that she has a twin sister and mother. Now, she can't remember them because when they were separated around the age of 2. So, we go to the day Deku is walking to class, and, time skip here, there, just to the day of Valentine's Day. If you all can see this coming from a mile away, then obviously either A, you've had this happen to you before, or B, from the tone of my voice and the way I sound, it's about to be sad boy hours. Deku finds kissing. I say kissing, I mean having a full-out makeout session with Bakugo. And Deku is sad. But he's also enraged. And this enragement connects him to the Force. and Deku is yelling at Bakugo. Like he dropped Kacchan. He's not saying, "I can't believe you've done this." He's like, "Fuck you, Bakugo Katsuki." He's yelling at too for cheating on him. Bakugo goes to punch Deku, and without even moving his hand, Deku starts to force choke Bakugo immediately. Everyone's thinking like Deku has awakened to his quirk through this fit of rage. And everyone's yelling at Deku to stop. You're gonna kill him, but Deku is right now only seeing red. And the only reason he stops is because, pretty much uses her earphone jack, which she also has, to knock Deku out. So now Deku, instead of being bullied for being quirkless, is being called a monster for using his powers to hurt someone like that. And Deku gets suspended for about 2 weeks. His mother doesn't blame him for being angry and for losing control. Especially after Deku finally tells her that Bakugo has been bullying him since they found out he was quirkless. And that only cements Inko's justification for Deku's anger more. And she brings this up to Mitsuki, who had no idea this was going on. So Bakugo, he's grounded for the rest of the year, making it harder for him and his girlfriend, and Deku's ex, to go out. Basically non-possible. So Deku goes out into the forest alone a lot now, and he trains with the Force. Because Deku feels that's something more. And Deku is always drawn to the same place. This weird mountain that is shaped odd. This is a Republican, I forget the name of it, but it's a Republican cruiser from the Clone Wars. The one the Jedi commanded. And Deku finds the Old Republic symbol. The New Republic had changed the symbol, but it still resembled the Orb one a bit. And, they do learn about the Clone Wars and stuff. And Deku realizes he's found an old clone Star Destroyer, pretty much. I forget the name of it, and I apologize for that. So Deku decides to go in by using the Force. And he finds a few things. One, the message Obi-Wan Kenobi sent to any surviving Jedi of Order 66. That Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord. And, all that. And he finds out about the Force. Now, this Star Destroyer, I'm going to call it that for right now until I can figure out the actual name of the vessel. I'm going to go look that up, actually. I'll be back. Alright, it's called the Venator. I finally figured it out. So Deku is walking around the Venator, looking for holocrons. If you don't know what those are basically all the Jedi knowledge. I'm going to say this Venator was tasked with retrieving the entire Jedi library. Not realizing that Palpatine had helped set up a heist for the entire holocron library. This Venator was tasked with retrieving and returning back to Coruscant with this library. This was part of Palpatine's plan to completely and utterly remove the Jedi from, history, which succeeded. The Venator was sabotaged to crash land on Earth, and set for this to non-stop bombard it so they couldn't get the repairs done. Palpatine even went as far as to make sure if the Venator ever became actually suitable for flight across the galaxy, the clones were that were under the under the Jedi's command. The clones that were under that Jedi's command were pre-programmed to automatically execute a small portion of Order 66 and to hide the holocrons. This is a completely new order I'm making up, and I'm calling it Order 24. I don't actually know what Order 24 is, but this is an order that Palpatine gave clear instructions for. This was to make sure that the holocron library was never returned to Coruscant. But it turns out Palpatine didn't need it. So Deku is looking through the holocrons right now, and he's learning everything about the Jedi. And this also has I'm just gonna stop trying to pronounce that. It even has dark side holocrons. Sith holocrons. There we go. Got it. So Deku learns both about the light and dark side of the Force. And there's one message from the Jedi there. And it pretty much says to any Jedi who find me to, bury him in a nice place with a view of a sunset. And Deku has been learning and studying the Force through the entire course of middle school. Now the lightsabers that the Jedi carried, they were busted beyond repair. But one of the holocrons taught Deku how to make a lightsaber. Now Deku has only had the parts to make one. So he has one lightsaber that he carries with him in school with his backpack. He's working on making a second one because he only has so much money and allowance he can use. Plus, he's got to find certain parts which are extremely hard to find, and when he does find them, they cost a lot, and I mean a lot of money. So, Deku has one lightsaber now. He's also been studying other forms of lightsaber combat. Deku's favorite form to use for when he's using one lightsaber is Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber form. I don't remember the name of it. I probably should have looked it up while I was looking up the Venator, but I didn't because I didn't think about that. But what I remember of Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber form is it's a style of lightsaber form that waits for the perfect moment to strike. Now, when Deku uses two lightsabers, that fighting style is one he made up on his own. It incorporates punching, kicking, dirty play, stuff like that. Using not only the environment, but all parts of his body. Pretty much, if Deku were to go up against a bunch of stormtroopers with that form, if they all surrounded him, they wouldn't be able to kill him. Because that form is the perfect mix of offense and defense, of lightsaber and environment. Basically, Deku is unstoppable in that form. But that form is more of a lethal way of fighting. Meaning Deku wouldn't use it unless it was a large group of, droids and stuff. Or villains. Because heroes do have the authority to use lethal force if necessary. if they deem it necessary. Oh my god. Whew. I'm sorry about that, guys, if you heard me burp. Yeah. Anyways. So, it's the end of middle school. Deku has been back in school for a while now. People have been calling him Monster. But Deku's choice of clothing has also changed. He's become more distant and cold from people. His whole attitude has flipped. Deku tends to wear a hood in school a lot, breaking the school dress code, stuff like that. And a lot of the teachers tend to just let this go. Because again, a lot of the teachers, they show sympathy to Deku. He finds out that his girlfriend was cheating on him with someone he thought was his best friend, and was just going through a phase. Turns out he wasn't. So they kind of just let him do what he wants when it comes to clothing. So, teacher comes in, passes out the tests for the, whole thing about what school they want to go to. Bakugo does his little speech. Teacher shuts him down and says, listen here, Katsuki Bakugo, you're not the only one that wants to go to UA. Neither is Yuna. And, the teacher would call Izuku Midoriya's name, and Deku would just kind of, look up and ask, yes? And, the teacher would say, don't you want to go to UA too? And Deku would be like, yeah, I do. And, everyone starts talking shit about how Deku's a monster. And, Deku just brushes this off and like, yeah, whatever. So, Bakugo tries to bully Deku out of going to UA, and Deku just uses Force Lightning to scare Bakugo away. By shooting a bolt of lightning near Bakugo's head. And Deku simply says this: stand in my way, and you won't be able to make it to you won't even be able to make it to number 10. He's basically saying, you get in my way of trying to become a hero, I'm gonna stop you by any means necessary. In other words, he's pretty much gonna Anakin Skywalker his bitch ass. If you guys don't know what Anakin Skywalkering is, it's basically my way of saying he's gonna cut him in half. Since lightsabers are a condensed type of plasma, lightsabers are hard to explain, especially when I haven't watched the lore about how lightsabers work. But my best guess right now is lightsabers are a type of plasma that is being, it's obviously a type of light that's being projected, but it has the same properties of a plasma. If you guys don't know what plasma is. Plasma is a type of conductive heat, allowing you to cut through virtually anything. Now, my mind is that plasma, I'm not 100% sure about this, you guys can fact check me if you want, but my mind is if plasma came in contact with one another, it wouldn't be able to go through. Meaning that's why lightsabers can't technically cut through one another, because of the properties of plasma. Listen, I'm not a Star Wars expert. If one of you guys in the comments are, by all means, feel free to correct anything I get wrong at any time. No, some of this is added from my own kind of ideas. Like that Kyber crystal I mentioned, black blade with a blood red glow, that doesn't exist neither in the Star Wars expanded universe or in the main canon. Honestly though, I'm kind of sad Disney didn't canonize Legends, Because Legends has one of the greatest Star Wars characters, in my opinion anyways. One of the greatest Star Wars characters, in my opinion. And that's Starkiller. And that's who I'm basing Deku off, basically. Deku is very prone to shut off his emotions. And the one he tends to show a lot of the times when he's not around his mother is his anger. Kind of like Starkiller. Deku can do anything Starkiller can. So, Deku is powerful. And if you guys ever played Force Unleashed 2 and maxed it out, and maxed out Starkiller, you kind of know you can kind of just run through people. Like, the only time I ever found myself difficultly challenged is, like, during, like, the hardest difficulty. Hard, I kind of found as a challenge, but, like, Unleashed, that was a pain in the ass playing that game through. But it was fun, still, because, you know, the only boss fight I found to be a real pain in the ass was that fucking... Oh my god. Well, I found two. The big gulag monster thing, I forget the name of it. All I know, it was ginormous. And the gunship on the train. The first, like, the second mission and the third mission. The end of those were pains in the ass. I didn't find Darth Vader that rough. To be fair, my plan was also just kind of just, like, mind control... Well, Jedi mind trick the backup he called in for the first fight, and then just slash at his back while he was dealing with the other dipshits. Also, I found a pretty good cheese. Like, I don't know how, but, like, I don't remember how I did it, but I managed to make it with my hitbox was the size... The only time he ever actually hit me was, like, if I threw my lightsabers or something. Not my lightsabers, like, force pushed. Like, he counters your force attacks. Like, that's the only time I ever got hit, really. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Back to the video. So, you know, Deku's walking down a corridor, and, you know, I'm gonna call them, like, a galactic gang, you know. They want to just steal Deku's shit. And, you know, Deku's just like not having it, and you know, so the leader walks up to him and says, "Hey kid, why don't you give us your backpack and everything that's in it, along with your wallet, and you get to live." And you know, Deku just begins to force choke the one dude that asked him. And you know, the other guy walks up behind Deku, you know, getting ready to stab him. Deku just grabs that dude and throws him into the guy he's force choking. Now All Might has shown up, but he's watching from afar. Deku grabs his lightsaber and ignites it. You know, one of the criminals, he has a robotic arm, charges Deku with a knife. Deku just cuts this robotic arm off. They also have a droid with them that has a laser, that has a blaster. Deku deflects the blaster bullet into one of the gang members' legs, and Deku force crushes the droid. Now, Force Crush, I looked up the lore on this. It's the same, if you guys haven't watched Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 8, this is a spoiler. So, skip ahead about 40 seconds. So, Force Crush was basically a move outlawed by the Jedi. It was more of a Sith move. Luke used it on one of the Dark Troopers during his hallway scene, which was pretty badass, if you don't mind me saying. But yeah, but Force Crush was only ever used by 2 other Jedi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Clone Wars spoilers, by the way, during one mission where they had to stop, which bought time for Anakin to defuse bombs around a city, and Mace Windu to stop General Grievous from kidnapping Palpatine. Well, attempting to stop him from being kidnapped during the Battle of Coruscant, which is why General Grievous tended to cough. It gave him, lung damage. But it was a brutal move, which obviously crushed your foe. Jedi didn't even use it against droids. They never used it at all, actually. Anyways, moving on. So, the last criminal is charging Deku. And, Deku is like, okay, I've had enough of this. And, this gang member, he's a part of a species which has a regenerative factor, kind of like lizards, only more powerful. Deku basically cuts his legs off from the knees down with a lightsaber. And that's the leader, by the way, that charges Deku with that. And Deku just points his lightsaber at him. And Deku simply says this to them: I catch you anywhere in my neighborhood robbing people again, I won't show mercy next time. And with that, Deku deignites his lightsaber and puts it back in his backpack and continues to walk off home. Now, All Might was chasing these guys because they had just robbed a store. Why you would try to rob a kid after, you just robbed the store, I have no clue why. They weren't that smart. But, All Might's looking at Deku like, seeing that his power is pretty strong, thinking he'd probably make a good successor for One For All. And, Deku gets home, and, he just goes to his room and meditates. Now, Deku is not a Sith. When he got mad, he was kind of turning into a Sith, but technically saved him from becoming one. Like, his eyes were yellow, like a Sith would be, because he was only seeing his anger. So, when Deku's eyes go yellow, he's a completely different person. And that Deku is someone he doesn't want to become. So he meditates to get control over his anger, so he can continue to use both sides of the Force without having to worry about becoming a Sith. And so far, Deku, the only time Deku really feels like he's about to snap is when Bakugo says something. Luckily, he's managed to learn how to tune Bakugo and his ex out, so he's good. So Deku then begins to train for the 10 months in the Force and meditating. Deku can also slow time. Should mention that now. If you guys don't know, the slow time ability is from Jedi the Fallen Order. Kyle. Deku goes to UA, but he leaves his lightsaber at home, because that would be considered a lethal weapon, and, he'd probably be disqualified. So he gets there, passes the written part, flying colors. And throughout middle school, did learn and was picked up by her mother. And her and Jiro tend not to see eye to eye, especially with Bakugo. While Jiro is more closed off and, chill, Yuno is more like Bakugo. In the fact that since she's dating him and they hang out so much at school together since they couldn't do it while Bakugo was grounded, that pretty much led her to becoming a female version of him, pretty much. Basically, Kyoko and Yuna, they hate each other with a passion. So anyways, moving on. So, Deku is sitting there. He's still got his hood up, hands in his pocket, just waiting for President Mike to say go. Yuna and Bakugo, they start talking some trash to Deku, and Deku just tunes them out. And, it's really tempting to Deku just to, fucking throw them across the room. But what Deku actually does is, he slows them down. Now, it doesn't sound like they're slowed, but they are. So when President Mike says go, and everyone takes off, they're still standing there running. Almost in place, pretty much. After Deku's gotten about maybe 4 or 5 blocks down the training grounds, they finally pick up speed. Why? Oh my god. I apologize there if my voice changed, but acoustically. For some reason, I'm echoing in my left ear. I have earbuds with a built-in mic that I'm using. And I could just hear myself echoing, and it was pissing me off. So I took it out and put it back in real quick. Anyways. So Deku, he's just destroying robots, either using Force Crush or Force Lightning. He uses the Force Blast ability a couple of times when he gets surrounded, but other than that, Deku's pretty much wiping the floor with the robots. And when the Zero Pointer shows up, and Deku sees it, Deku is pretty much just walking over to it, and has his hand out to it, just stopping it from moving forward. So Jiro is the one trapped under the rubble, and Deku stopped it before it reached Jiro. So Deku's just walking forward, looking like a complete and utter badass. Just hand extended, pretty much. And, Deku just turns his hand around and picks it up. Deku then raises his other hand, and he rips the arms off of the robot. Pretty much leaving it with nothing. And then he condenses the rest of the robot into a ball. He drops the body of the robot, which is now a condensed ball, takes the 2 arms, and smashes the robot even further into the ground, destroying it. Deku walks over, lifts the rubble off of Jiro and puts it to the side, and force heals her, healing her injury in the leg. Because it did fall on the leg and obviously would have sprained it or broke it. Pretty much negating Recovery Girl's job there. After that, President Mike would say, time's up, stuff like that, and Deku would just walk off to his home. As Deku's walking out, everyone's just kind of staring at him. Just wondering, exactly how powerful is his telekinesis quirk. No one saw him use Force Lightning except the teachers. So they just think he has telekinesis. Now, All Might, he realizes what Deku has, though, because he believes in the Force. He believes it's a real thing, that the Jedi and the Sith were a real thing. And, he sees Deku using the Force. when he saw the lightsaber, it made him suspicious. But after seeing the display of power he just put on, he believes that he has the Force. Deku is the only one besides All Might who knows the truth behind his power. Bakugo just thinks Deku has a half and half quirk, thinking that his mother cheated on his father, who was off overseas. Also, I'm going to point this out now. Deku is a descendant of Anakin. Not from Leia's side, but from Luke's side. Instead of Luke being, the loner that he became in the sequels, which butchered lightsaber fights in my opinion, like, what are those? That never happened. Luke went on to build his order, and he allowed relationships to be had, completely changing the Jedi Order from the Old Republic. Allowing use of both sides, and not trying to contain one's emotion and fight, pretty much dropping the whole samurai thing the Jedi's had going on and adopting his own way. So, Deku is Luke's great, there's a lot of fucking greats. Grandson, pretty much. Meaning that he is a descendant of Anakin, or Darth Vader, which is explaining his powers and why they're so powerful, and why he's also a Force user. But anyways, moving on. Deku, he gets home, he tells his mother what he did with his powers and, how he destroyed the robot. And, Deku does tell her about Force lightning and stuff, but she just thinks that it's a dormant quirk from his father's side. And, Deku's just like, Deku just lets her think that he has a half and half quirk. Half telekinesis, half lightning. So when Deku gets back in his room, he finds a package on his bed, which is the last part he needed for his secondary lightsaber. So when Deku gets that other lightsaber built, he takes it into the forest, and for the next week he trains and makes his new lightsaber combat style. Now, he uses the Ventor to train, because the Ventor has a repair station, and Deku uses that repair station to repair old Separatist battle droids. And Deku has ramped up his training with the double lightsabers, and that shows him how powerful he truly is with two. But that's also how Deku came to the conclusion that he should only use this if he's outnumbered. Deku can make it non-lethal, but it's a lot harder to fight non-lethally with two lightsabers than it is to be lethal. Deku has also made his own armor. Now, it's based off of, I forget what the Mandalorian's armor called. I think it's called the Berserk armor. But basically, there was a Mandalorian bounty hunter working alongside with the Jedi. Because this Jedi and this Mandalorian, they were friends, because the Jedi was obviously a Mandalorian. So, Deku has already his suit. Imagine Jango Fett's armor just completely black. Get rid of the helmet and put a hood on. Also, Deku's half mask is connected to the jetpack, which contains oxygen in it. So if he ever has to go underwater, or if he ever would have to fight in space or in deoxygenated areas. Also, Deku has been repairing. Now, I will say this. Deku also found, from when the New Republic discovered Earth, an old X-Wing model. So Deku has been repairing that as well. Now, if you guys don't know what the X-Wing is, which I would be surprised, it was the main starfighter for the Rebel forces. The X-Wings had their own hyperdrive incorporated into them, allowing for the Rebels to do hit-and-run attacks on Imperial Star Destroyers, making it also a lot easier for combat in space, meaning they didn't need to have a carrier for the ship, allowing them to be a lot more compact, smaller, but able to fight in a moment's notice. Now, that thing is taking a lot longer to repair, because Deku isn't trying to buy the parts for that. He's using old parts from old ships on the Ventor. So Y-wings, bomber ships, troop carriers, stuff like that to repair it. So, time skip to when Deku gets his acceptance letter in the UA. So, Deku does let the teachers know that he has his own hero suit with stuff ready to go, which they allow because it passes the protocols for everything. And Deku has his lightsabers, and he has them on him. So the way Deku's lightsabers work, he realized he needed a way to be able to carry them anywhere he went. So Deku made it where the jetpack can be disconnected from the armor, which it obviously could already, but making it look more like a backpack, which he also did put a storage device in, allowing him to store his lightsabers. That's where he can store the oxygen mask and stuff like that. So this also allows him to fly to certain places. Alright, I'm back. So Deku gets accepted. He's in Class 1A. And, he walks there. He's got his jetpack with him, which is carrying his lightsabers. He's got his armor in a different backpack. It's a much bigger one, which would carry it. Now, the Mandalorian armor obviously has a flamethrower, grapple hook, remote control for the not yet operational X-Wing, and yeah, that's it. It doesn't have a mounted missile on the backpack. Because this jetpack is completely different from the normal Mandalorian jetpacks. This one is meant for more of storing stuff, oxygen, and fuel for the jetpack itself. So yeah, Deku gets to, class 1A. He's just chilling. He They also have their dorms early. I'm giving them the dorms early from now on. So Deku's already moved his stuff into the dorms. So everything's there. And Deku does get a permission slip from Nezu, because he says that he goes to clear his head a lot in a forest that's nearby. So that's his excuse for going down to fix the X-Wing, which he does do to clear his head. So, he does have permission to leave the school grounds. So when Deku gets to Class 1A, in Bakugo, they're arguing with Ida because Ida walked in on them kissing. And he is saying, you cannot be showing public displays of affection on a school property desk and shit, and just blah blah blah. I'm telling you, Ida, choppy arms. Ow! Fuck. Scratched myself in the head. Don't do choppy arms super fast in front of your face. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna whack yourself in the face. Anyways, moving on. Deku just walks up to Ida and says, dude, just puts his hand on his shoulder and says, dude, just give it up. They ain't gonna listen to you. And, Bakugo calls, Deku a monster, and Deku just rebuttals with, the only monsters I see here are Cheetah and a little lover boy toy. And Ida's trying to figure out who he should yell at, them for calling him a monster, or him retorting with that thing. Ida's like, do you know them? And Deku would reply with, yes. This is my ex-girlfriend and childhood best friend. She cheated on me with him. Is that all you needed? Ida would say, yes. And, he apologizes for, the things he had to go through. And he's like, don't apologize. Just pisses me off more. And, he walks over to the back of the classroom and takes a seat. And, he just sits there, eyes closed, meditating. And he is sitting on the ground, but he's making sure he's not in the way of anyone. Everyone's just kind of looking at Deku like, okay, he's weird. Jiro decides to walk over to Deku and talk to him. They kind of talk about what they like to do. Deku says, I like to work on projects of mine. Not telling her about the Old Republican, Ventor, and X-Wing. And stuff like that. And, just talks about how he likes to train and stuff, and just kind of go on walks into the forest and kind of clear his head. Jiro says she likes to play music to clear her head and stuff like that. So, they kind of build like a relationship to be closer friends. Aizawa comes in, tells the class to shut up, it's quirk assessment time, and, walks out, tells them to go down to the gym and get ready. Deku just listens, goes down, gets the gym uniform on, still has his hoodie on. The only time he takes it off is when he's in his dorm room or at home. Kind of like my Blacklight Virus Deku. Only more of it's him just liking the hood up rather than, just... they both like to have the hood up. One's just hiding his face. Because he feels like he's a monster. I'm realizing I'm reversing the roles, kind of. Our force wielding Deku is the one that kind of feels like a monster, because the Sith in him kind of broke free, and it kind of terrifies him that he has this in him, this thing that wants to just kill. While Blacklight Virus Deku just likes having a hood up. So yeah. So when they all get out there, they, either sees Deku's wearing a hood, and, either asks Deku to kindly put it down, and Deku just explains, dude, I don't want to put it down. So I get that you want me to, but this is something that helps me stay calm. Because, when Deku has his hood down out in public, he kind of is anxious and stressed out. And he kind of explains that to Ida. In a private conversation, obviously. Far away from anyone else. And, Ida just kindly respects Deku's wishes and, goes off to get ready to train. As I would say, is Zuko Midoriya, you're up first. Deku force pushes the ball, gets Infinity. Remember how I said he's as powerful as Starkiller? Starkiller can rip a Star Destroyer out of the sky. Remember that. And Deku is also a direct descendant of Anakin Skywalker, who was compared to one of the most powerful Jedi who could push back the force of a black hole, I believe. Is that right or is that wrong? Again, my Star Wars knowledge is kind of limited. There are certain things I remember and other things I don't remember. Anyways, moving on. So, when Deku blows everyone out of the water and takes first in everything except for the bar throw because he ties with Uraraka. Because again, turning off gravity is basically cheating in my book. Wow. We've been going for an hour, huh? Well, I want to do more. Alright, this one's going to be possibly a little longer than usual. Because there's a lot I want to do with this what if. Or I may record the part tomorrow. I don't know. One of the things. I'll do something. But I'm definitely going to get to the USJ attack, at least in this part. Unless I hit the 2-hour mark. Which then I'm kind of just going to, stop it. So, it's lunchtime right now. And Deku is, sitting by himself. Just eating. So, Jiro, Kaminari, Uraraka, Kirishima, and Mina walk over to him. Jiro because she's more friendly with Deku, and the other 4 because they want to get to know Deku better. And Deku's just sitting there silently as they're all talking to him. And All Might shows up and is like, excuse me, young Midoriya, may I talk to you for a moment? And Deku's just like, sure. Grabs his jetpack, throws it on, and walks with All Might to his office. And All Might explains to Deku and, explains his power and what 1-for-all is. And, All Might also knows that Deku has the Force. And, Deku then explains what he found in the forest with the Ventor. About how Emperor Palpatine executed an order to eradicate all Jedi and stuff like that. And pretty much wanting to erase them from history, along with the Sith. And, All Might ask Deku if he would like to take 1-for-all. And, Deku doesn't take it. The reason being is he wouldn't really benefit it. the Force wouldn't transfer into one for all, because the Force isn't a quirk. Deku explains that he should find someone more with an actual quirk that would actually benefit him. But he does explain that he should not give it to Katsuki Bakugo or Jiro, because of, Deku knowing them for so long, plus explaining each one's personality and how they only care about moving up in the ranks and becoming popular. And he explains that they wouldn't be good fits for one for all. Now, Deku kind of gives All Might some options with Class 3A, and he kind of recommends Mirio for a completely different reason. But Deku does explain that he will, however, take on the mission of beating One for All, All for One permanently, because All for One can't steal the Force, meaning that he's the best. That means he would be the best hero to take on All for One, because his power can't be stolen and it can't be deactivated. So, Deku does ask that when he becomes a pro, that All Might will bring him to fight All for One. So, the chances of people dying go from, extremely high to extremely low. So, after that, All Might says, well, okay, go prepare and get ready for, training, the hero versus villains thing. And Deku just simply nods and walks off. So, Deku's sitting in class, knowing what's about to happen. All Might comes in, does his I am here slide dab thing. To me, it looked like All Might dabbed. Was that anyone else? When All Might, slid into the room, did it look like All Might was dabbing to you guys, or was that just me? Like, seriously. Like, that can't just be me who thought All Might was dabbing. If it is, I'm gonna be really disappointed in myself for thinking All Might dabbed. But it looked like he was dabbing, not gonna lie to me. I'm gonna look it up after this to see if All Might actually dabbed. Because if he did, I'm gonna laugh. Very much. But All Might explains the training thing, and they go in. Now, when Deku has his hero costume on, he does have his lightsabers on his side. Like Starkiller had in The Force Unleashed. So, All Might changes the hero versus villain thing, though. He decides to do all of Class 1A against Midoriya. And, Deku is just like, he just shrugs his shoulder and he's like, okay. Pretty much, Class 1A has 2 hours to capture Midoriya. Deku can choose to either hide for the 2 hours, escape, or beat all of Class 1A. You pretty much guys know what's going to happen here. So let's get into this. So, Deku is on one side of the training ground, Class 1A is on the other, where Deku's marked exit is supposed to be. Now, Deku is just walking through the streets, just nonchalantly, just, pretty much just walking. The first one to find him is, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say Deku also looked up lightsabers, and he said to Momo that to create this like type of sword, which I forget the name of the alloy, but it's a kind of sword that is they're favorited between bounty hunters and assassins, in case one of the targets that the bounty hunter or assassin is hunting is a Jedi or Sith. Pretty much it can't be cut through. I forget the name of the alloy though. And Momo can make it because it's a mixture of certain earth elements. So everyone has one of those swords. So Deku can train with his lightsabers as well. So the first one to find him, I'm gonna say, is Denki. Denki just attempts to charge board him, not to short circuit his brain, but just to knock Deku out. Deku just simply uses, just basically absorbs the lightning and reflects it back at Denki. And, Denki would obviously dodge. So, Denki would charge Deku with the sword. And, Deku would get one of his lightsabers ready. And, he'd be in, he would do the Obi-Wan Kenobi pose. He'd be ready for Denki's attack. Deku just deflects Denki's hit, force pushes Denki to a wall, knocks away the sword, and puts the lightsaber up to Denki's throat. And Deku just simply says, "Do you yield?" Basically saying either yield or I'm knocking you out. And Denki yields, Deku deignites the lightsaber and puts it back on his side. So Denki is out. Now Deku runs into, this time, Kirishima, Momo, Mineta, and Asui. Deku defeats Momo and Asui with just simple force pushes and, just kind of uses metal bars to kind of just wrap them up and keep them contained. Mineta and Kirishima both attack Deku at the same time with the swords. And Deku is using his lightsabers to defend against both swords with very little trouble. He's not having any trouble. It's basically just a yawn fest for him. And I am going to say this though, and I'm pretty sure this could happen, possibly. Deku strikes both swords with enough force to slice them in half. Because in real life, if you were to hit a metal sword with enough force with another sword, you could potentially shatter the sword. So, Deku slices both swords in half, grabs them both with the force, and just throws them up against the wall. Deku flips his lightsabers around like Starkiller would usually hoard them, and continues to walk forward, not deigniting them. Deku decides to cut through a building. And I mean, literally cut through a building. Like, he just cuts a hole in it. And, it's like a warehouse. So it's a big open area. Tokiyami, Sato, Sero, and Hakakureg were waiting for Deku there, thinking he would obviously cut through there, which they were right. Deku just simply, this Jedi mind tricks Hakakureg to show herself and reveal her other three teammates. And Deku just force pulls them, and to them, and just force pushes them through the wall. Pretty much Deku just defeats everybody with either KOs from the hilt of his lightsaber, or by force pushing them or wrapping them in some type of metal. So the last people standing are Todoroki, Yuna, Bakugo, and Kyoko. Deku simply looks at Kyoko and says, I'm going to give you two choices. You know, basically saying, you surrender now, I won't do anything to harm you. And, you know, Kyoko sees the lightsabers and, you know, she's getting a bad vibe like, if I fight him, I'm going to lose this battle. So, you know, Kyoko just drops the sword and says, I surrender. You know, she walks off the field. Yuna, Todoroki, and Bakugo, they all charge Deku. You know, Deku is fighting them with, again, relative ease. You know, Todoroki's using ice to try to capture Deku's feet. And Todoroki manages to get Deku with some ice, but, you know, flamethrower. You know, Deku would just force push Todoroki into the wall, knocking him out. When Kyoko and Bakugo start charging Deku, Deku doesn't become a Sith, but he does kind of tap into his anger. And, you know, he easily beats them. And, you know, he is holding them both. And he's using Force Crush a little bit, but not extremely. You know, his anger's kind of starting to take over, but Deku just simply, you know, takes a deep breath and slams him to the ground. Knocking them both out cold. What, you thought I was just going to have Deku drop him after letting them pass out unconscious from pain? Fuck no. They go through the ground into the sewer system. You know, All Might would declare, you know, Izuku Midoriya the winner. He has defeated all of Class 1A. And that took him about half an hour. You know, when the class heard how long it took him to, like, you know, after everyone woke up and stuff, of those who were knocked out, and of those who just weren't paying attention, after they heard it only took him a half an hour to defeat him, everyone was kind of wondering, like, how powerful is he? Because, you know, everyone thought it took him almost the full 2 hours. Because it felt like a long time when fighting Deku. When really, it was just a half an hour. So, you know, I always add this part earlier because I add sometimes earlier, other times I don't. But the locker scene from after the internships, I always add it earlier if I have a plan for Mineta, which usually causes him great deals of pain. So, you know. This one isn't a great deal of pain, more of a great deal of embarrassment. Yeah, you're all about to see where this is going. So, you know, everyone's, you know, changing and stuff. You know, Deku's already pretty much changed. Because, again, it's not that hard for him to change. It's literally just take off the armor, change his pants, changes pretty much pants, and change the shirt. Which isn't extremely hard. And if you actually practice enough, you can actually change your shirt without taking off your hoodie. It's extremely difficult, but I have learned to do it. I just did it out of sheer boredom. I was like, you know, I'm just like, how bored am I? I'm like, I'm that bored. So I literally just practiced changing my shirt with the hood on. Meaning no one knows what Deku looks like except for Bakugo and Yuna. You know, Mineta finds the hole and, you know, does his whole little speech like, you're going to have to stop me. And, you know, Deku's just like, you do not want to look through the hole. You know, Mineta just is like, I do not want to look through the hole. Deku was like, you will walk out of the locker rooms down to the principal office and tell him what you were about to do. And, Mineta does as he's told, walks to the principal's office, in his underwear, I might add. Deku never let him change. Just told him to go to the principal's office. And, they're all looking at Deku like, wait, you can take control of people's minds? And Deku's just like, yeah, so? Deku pretty much just, after that, just leaves the fucking locker room. And goes, it goes back to his dorm. And, Deku's just chilling in his dorm, meditating. And, he hears a knock at his door. Deku gets up, puts on his hoodie, and opens the door to find, Kyoko standing there. And Kyoko and Yuna, I would like to point out, aren't identical twins. They are actually... Oh god, I forget the word. Is it... I don't remember the word. It's drawing a blank in my mind. Basically, while Kyoko takes more after her mother, Yuna kind of takes a little bit more after her father. And such is the form of his blonde hair, more of, darker complexion. Because she goes out more and stuff while, Kyoko stays indoors. Kyoko has purple hair, short purple hair. Yuna has long, blonde hair. Deku just asked Jiro, like, hey, what do you need? She just wanted to ask, she just wanted to thank him for the help with Mineta and stuff. Deku's just like, no problem. Kyoko asked if he ever goes for a walk, can she come with him? Deku's just like, sure. Deku decides that why not take her there. Deku says, I plan on going there in a couple of minutes anyways. So he asks if she wants to come. She says sure. So Deku and Kyoko, they walk to the Venator. And Kyoko's looking at the Venator thinking like, this is a weird looking mountain thing. And Deku's like, oh, it's not a mountain. Deku says, it's an Old Republic Venator Star Cruiser. And, Deku opens the door with the Force and, says, after you. And, she goes in. And, Deku takes her to the hangar bay, which has power. Deku's actually been also fixing the Venator. Not to where it can fly, but where it has power and stuff. So, Kyoko sees the, the X-Wing and how he's repairing it and stuff, Deku decides to explain the Force to her. And, everything about the Jedi and stuff. Because, he feels like I can trust her with this, I believe. So, Kyoko's kind of looking at Deku like, like this is a cool place. And, Deku explains that, that this Venator was meant to retrieve, the entire Jedi library. And, Kyoko asked if she could see something from the Jedi library. And, Deku's like, sure. So, he shows her a holocron of, I'm going to say, a fight between, let's say, the fight between Count Dooku and Yoda. A fight between those two. that was recorded. So, you know, Kayoko sees the fight, you know, and she's kind of, you know, she's thinking like, okay, so he can probably fight like this too. You know, Deku kind of just explains that that was the original Grandmaster of the Old Republic Jedi Knights. And, you know, Kayoko asks Deku if he plans on becoming a Jedi. You know, he says no. I plan on becoming a hero. You know, Deku asks her not to tell anyone about the Force. That this is just my quirk. You know, she decides to keep it a secret. You know, Kayoko, you know, she's kind of blushing because her and Deku are sitting close together. But, you know, it's very noticeable, so Deku's oblivious. You know, Kayoko would ask, so what's the problem with her and with him and his sister? And Deku explains how she cheated on him with Bakugo. You know, Kayoko just hugs Deku. You know, she hugs him back. And who? Add to the stroke compilation. Like, seriously, if any of you guys have too much time on your hands, like, just go through my videos, like, all my videos, and just count how many times I just tended to stroke out and just completely go dumb. Like, seriously, if you guys can count how many times that is, like, it's gotta be at, like, 50 or something, right? I swear, I stroke out a lot during my videos, it feels like. Like, I just can't talk. I'm like Glizzy over here. Just fucking, like, I'm just gonna shut up now. Like, seriously. Like, what the fuck? Oh god, I'm not as famous as Glizzy, but I feel like if ever, like, I feel like just one of you guys are gonna, like, pour a Senpapi lick on me, like with Glizzy, and just make renegade stroke moments or something. I can see one of you doing that in the near future. Or in the distant future. I don't know which. But I can see it happening one day. And if it does happen, then I can see a prediction compilation coming up, because I predict some bullshit at times. Like with stories. Like, when they were like, before, Marvel Spider-Man, before you realize that Doc Ock was one of the main villains, like, I predicted during the trailer of the prison break scene, I'm like, the last villain that, when Peter said you, I was like, that's Doc Ock, isn't it? That's gonna be Dr. Octavius. I can see it now. And when I saw he was in the game, I'm like, as a doctor, I'm like, okay, yeah, I was right, wasn't I? That scene came off, I'm like, plot prediction powers of bullshit, activate. Just, you know, just being me. Anyways, so, you know, Deku and Kayoko walk back to the dorms. The reason I'm trying to use their first names is because that's going to get confusing, since the sisters, they both have the last name now. So, you know, Yuna Jiro and Kayoko Jiro. If I say Jiro, some of you guys may not know which one I'm talking about. And if you guys do, then I'm still going to do it, because it's just easier for me to remember. Because I'm probably going to get called off and be like, wait, which Jiro is with Deku again? Because that's why I used the first ones. So, you know, Deku walks Kayoko back to her room, and, you know, she thanks him for the day out, and, you know, and she teases him and says, "Can't wait for our second date." And Deku's like, "Yeah, no problem." She walks into a dorm, and Deku walks back to his dorm, not realizing what she said until he gets in the dorm and takes off his hood, and Deku's like, "Wait, what? Did she just say can't wait for our second date?" And Deku's just like, "I'm going to bed." Kind of just like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, just, kind of dumbfounded. Because Deku kind of has trust issues. And no one can really blame him. But anyways, USJ time. So, they're on the bus in the hero costumes, and, Deku's sitting there meditating at the back of the bus. Gio decides to walk over to him and, talk to him about, just about stuff. What kind of music he likes to listen to, if he does like music, what he likes to do for a hobby. Deku just kind of explains that he doesn't really have any favorite music. But, he kind of explains that he does like listening to some old Republic music, that was recorded. And, Deku plays the infamous Cantina bar music. Kind of explains like, apparently this band was a big hit back in the Old Republic and during the Empire regime. Kyoko's just, they're both vibing to it in the back of the bus. They're just both enjoying the music. They get to the thing, and as I was like, okay, students, we're here. They all get off the bus, go to inside the USJ. 13's explaining how quirks can be dangerous. And, the portal opens up. And, the Nomu walks out. A few villains walk out. But the thing that catches Deku off guard is the amount of separatist battle droids that come out. You got the super battle droids, the normal, just regular battle droids, and... oh, fuck, what are the names of the fucking stupid, what are the name of the roller droids? I always call them roller droids because I can never remember their names. But yeah. Deku sees the droids and stuff, and, he's just like... he rushes down there to go fight the droids. Aizawa rushes down there to fight the villains. Bakuro, Yuna go fight villains. And, everyone's pretty much fighting villains. Kirigiri never teleported them away. And, Shigaraki's more focused on just dealing with Aizawa and waiting for All Might to get here. Ida obviously has run off to go tell a teacher and stuff. And, some of the students are helping Deku deal with the battle droids, but they kind of realize, like, I think he's got this. Because Deku is just tearing through every one of the droids with ease. And, Kyoko's obviously not gonna stop helping Deku. She's still helping him out. And, about after defeating 13,000 droids, Deku goes after the Nomu. And, the Nomu obviously is attacking Deku because it attacked him after he tried to save Aizawa. Aizawa's fine, by the way. Just, bit, shall we say, Yamcha'd. Only more live. Actually, Goku'd. Yeah, Goku'd pretty much. Almost every bone in his body is broken. If you guys don't remember, at the end of the Saiyan Saga and Dragon Ball Z, every bone in Goku's body was broken. So when someone gets all their bones broken in their body, I'm gonna be calling you the Goku. when someone gets blown up by a suicide thing, I'm going to call it a Yamcha. Mineta almost got Yamcha'd. Why? Because he is hiding like a bitch. Sadly, he survived. Moving on. You know, Deku saw that Mineta survived too, and he's like, damn it. I was hoping he would die. You know, just kind of a little sad that, like, fuck, he survived. Means I'm gonna have to deal with him in school for more. And, you know, after that, you know, Deku and the Nomu are fighting. You know, Deku is cutting its limbs off, but it's continuously regenerating. So Deku's like, okay, this thing's got regeneration. Let's see it handle this. Deku uses Force Crush to crush the Nomu into a ball. And then Deku just cuts that thing into pieces. And Deku sat there waiting for it to regenerate for a little bit, which it does not. You know, Kirigiri and Shigaraki try to attack Deku, and he just stops him with the Force. Now, a Battle Droid is still functional, and it goes to shoot at Kyoko, which makes Deku drop the Force on holding Shigaraki and Kirigiri from escaping, because he ran over to block the blaster bolt from the droid, which gave Shigaraki and Kirigiri time to escape. Basically, when All Might gets there, the entire fighting's done, and the Nomu's destroyed. But yeah, this is where I'm going to leave this one off here. If you guys have enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you next know when I post, or go live. I do live streams from time to time. Plan on doing a chill stream sometime soon, hopefully. If not, oh well. I'll try to do one by the end of this month. May do a Christmas stream. You know, just chill, play Just Cause 4, blow stuff up, or, you know, play some Nautica. You know, just work on beating that game. Days Gone, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a Fire Legion. Keep your fires burning. I'll see you on the next one. Oh yeah, join my Discord too, so you guys can, you know, come talk to me, suggest your what-if ideas. I do tend to read the comments a lot, but if you guys want like an idea to actually, like an idea or something to get through to me, my Discord is the best way to do that. So yeah, I'll see you all later.